Hello, friends and community. It has been a minute since I have logged on here, and a lot has happened. You may have noticed I changed my name. It's been quite a journey this last year, a very wild Saturn return so far, and also a very wild collective reality so far too, yeah? Welcome to Pluto and Aquarius, Age of Aquarius. We are here of great transformative change, and the change that we are invoking in our world, in our communities, for greater refinement and embodiment of who we are, truly are, and are meant to be as a collective human race, is also so inherently reflected in our internal journeys as individuals as well. We are mirrors of the macro, and every ripple layer of the micro, the individual, the meso in our current closest relationships and community networks are all a part of the grander ecosystem of the macro. And so I wholeheartedly believe that this work in the individual self goes hand in hand to support the evolution of our world at large, because we are all part of it, the grander evolution of this great time here on Earth. And so I am here present with you all to share with you a bit of my journey of what the last year, but especially 6 months or so, have taught me of what it really means to embark on an initiatory evolution of self in order to come into greater embodiment of essentially the highest octave, the most aligned octave of who we are meant to be, so that we can each show up more clear, more balanced, more true in our authentic essence. And when we are grounded from that center point, that is when we are the best community members, the best citizens of humanity that we can be, and truly from there create the ripple effects of change that we want to see in the world in much more effective ways, because we are coming from an inner fire, an inner place of power that cannot be tamed, that can no longer be distorted or contorted, distracted. And it's from this seat of our power that I am so committed, devoted, passionate about cultivating as layers, deepening in my own life and helping others to remember their same in their own unique truths and ways. And so this is a bit of my personal story, and I thank you so much for witnessing, and also to listen for any kernels of wisdoms or reflections that can be like breadcrumbs for you on your own unique path, because we learn in reflection of each other. And so thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being present here. And if you are tuning in from the video version on YouTube, you can see that my little baby Avalon, the kitten, is chilling on her little throne by the fireplace here, and just really welcome you into my temple space here in the digital world. And so again, my intention with sharing my story in this way is to help us all connect with our own inner clarity and truth, because I truly believe that we are unstoppable in creating the ripple effects and the visions that we are ready to experience in our shared collective reality together. The more of us that are lit up by our own internal fires of truth, each time that one of us lights our own torches and then reminds another how to light their own, we become like a wildfire for great change. And that is not to be underestimated. So, as some of you may know me as Crystal Claire. And this is my official invitation for you to now know me as Claire Avelina. And it's been quite a journey of a rite of passage in its truest sense to release that name. Of course, Crystal Claire is a part of me just as much as my inner child is a part of me. All these different phases of who I have been will always be a part of the woven collage and tapestry of my life. And I think there are so many different medicines and gifts that each version, each part of ourselves has for us at any given stage in our lives. And their gifts get to carry along with us, to inform us, guide us, reveal to us all the different aspects of who we are, because we're not just limited, in my perspective, to like one archetype, right? It's not like Claire Avelina or Crystal Claire is just like this one little stereotype, archetype, persona, personality. And oftentimes that gets a bit confused in our digital world, where so many of us have been culturally and socially conditioned from social media of showing just one version of ourselves, when in reality we are multifaceted, incredibly diverse humans, each of us individually. I truly believe at the core, none of us are really that simple, right? There is so much more to each of us that wants to be expressed in every part of our evolution. And so these parts of ourselves get to remain a part of our journey forevermore. Archetypes that we can continue to play with. And so as I let go of the name Crystal Claire, it feels important to emphasize that I love her so much, and she is still totally a part of me, and I will channel her energy in very unique ways for the rest of my life. But where I am right now is evolved into more of a matriarch than a maiden. And that's been the biggest initiation, rite of passage of claiming a new name for me. And so my intention is to share a bit of my journey of getting to this place, in the hopes that perhaps you can receive a reflection in your own way of what it can mean for each of us to truly develop and grow into various versions, but also the truest version of who we are and always have been. So, Crystal Claire, Crystal Claire, for context, first came to me when I was a teenager in high school. And the name was actually bestowed upon me as a rapper name by my friends in the hip hop and poetry club at school. And I will say that if you ever get to see me rap, it's definitely a lot of fun. And Crystal Claire definitely brings out some of that like fire spark to spit out some rhymes every once in a while. And, you know, Crystal Claire really took on a life of its own as I started embarking into festivals and getting really involved in the conscious festival gathering scene, being a part of hosting workshops and tea lounges, and just really connecting with so many people from around the world for so many years in those settings. And Crystal Claire became a really easy and accessible way for people to remember me, remember my energy, for the work that I do to really stick. And so it became like the energy of Crystal Claire, when I have been really in that embodiment, has felt to me like a galactivated unicorn. Very like fairy-like, and that energy has been so much fun for my maiden self to just see life as a playground of love. And gosh, I have so many adventures that just come to mind, countless, from when I have embodied and embraced that Crystal Claire archetype and feeling. And as I really began to become initiated by my Saturn return, which began around 27, that's when it typically begins. And also, I will pause right here and add that if you are not familiar with a Saturn return is a time that can be marked and tracked by our astrological transits, that essentially is known to be a huge initiation in letting go of aspects of ourselves that no longer serve us, serve our truth, or serve who we are here to be. And so many of us during Saturn return portals can have experiences of really major life changes happening. And if you have been in my field at all during my own Saturn return journey, especially as it really got initiated this last year at 28 years old, you have seen what that has been like for me, which is also why I have not felt like in true integrity until now to really offer my reflections, my gleaned lessons, now that I feel like I'm at a place of true digestion and embodiment of all of the lessons that have come my way. And so my transit for my Saturn return really took hold in March 2023. And some of y'all followed my journey with attempting to become a mushroom facilitator legally in the state of Oregon, or pursuing the path of becoming a social worker, and just really clarifying so many areas of my life, refining and letting go of various labels, ideas, titles of who I thought I was and who I thought I should be. Because in reality, it has become clear to me that so often, and many of you can probably relate to this, I took on like patterns, behaviors, ideas, concepts about me, myself, and what I should be doing with my life based on what society, family, peers, culture instilled or conditioned in me in various points that were actually not for my highest and best or true to my authentic self. And so as this all started to get really culminated at once, every area of my life, looking at my life like a blank canvas and throwing like everything, every part of me and my life like spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, I came to recognize at a point that Crystal Claire was no longer a part of that. Crystal Claire was one of those things, one of those names, one of those titles that was actually limiting me in my fullest expression and was not entirely encompassing of my whole self. So much of this year, of the last year, I felt like wearing clothes that were too tight. It felt like having a glass ceiling over my head at all times, where it's like the growth, the embodiment that I know that I'm destined for, that I know is my potential, I could not reach because I was limited by these conditionings, by these patterns that I had taken on that were ready to release, and also limited by my name, my chosen name. And Crystal Claire, like I said, just really embodies this bright maiden energy. And to be completely transparent, in the last few years, pretty much since 2020, I have begun to receive a lot of insight from my higher versions, from spirit, that there is motherhood on my future path. There is an energy of the matriarch ready to build a foundation that is like a legacy for my life, whatever that's meant to look like. And Crystal Claire is not the carrier of that lineage. Crystal Claire is a playful archetype, but she is not the lineage holder for the life that I am creating. And so for so long, I spent majority of the last year, I was just like, I have to let go of this name. It feels restricting and it doesn't feel like it's serving me or authentic anymore, but I still love it. I love who Crystal Claire is. I'm not completely letting her go, but she has to rest. And that was really challenging for me because so much of my world I had built around me with this name. Countless people have known me as Crystal Claire. In fact, so much that I can't even count how many people have believed that my first name is Crystal. And that's how they see me. And so of course there's this big identity crisis, right? Of who am I really? And what does it mean to let this name go? And a lot of grief was present for sure in this journey as well, and confusion around, well, if I'm not Crystal Claire anymore, then who am I? Who am I really? And I had to go through this process of completely emptying myself for many months. If I'm not Crystal Claire, if I'm not her, then what else am I not? And again, this aspect of throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks, I had to take everything. My title of priestess, I had to empty. My title as, in various jobs and roles that I've had, all of my different titles and certifications that I've earned, I emptied all of it out in this. Because I had to really get clear, who am I really beyond the titles, the names, the labels? Because in reality, I could see at that point that if Crystal Claire is no longer resonant, then what else is no longer resonant? What is the true core expression of my being when I'm not restricted by even names or titles that still feel good? Right? Because that's where we excavate the truth of our essence, is when we let go of even the things that feel good but could still be limiting us. And we can take them on again if that's organic, if that's the ultimate truth. But I had to go through a process of letting all of it essentially die in order to know what is still here. And so some folks might say, like, well, why didn't you just go back to your legal name? The easy solution, right? And the tricky part is I didn't feel resonant with my legal name either. And that was also very challenging of a process to come to terms with as well. For so often when I was very young, even when I was a child, I felt like there was something about my birth name that didn't quite feel right. And of course, I mean, if y'all know my work, you know how much I respect and really encourage each of us to deepen our relationships with our ancestors. I feel it is so important that we honor the strengths of our ancestors and also transmute the pains, the wounds, and the weaknesses that they carried as well. And for me, I knew that the embodiment of who I am, have always been, and am meant to become was far more than the frequency of my birth name. But of course, I spent a lot of time in ceremony, in meditation with my ancestral spirits and asking them for permission. I asked in many different occasions, just confirming time and time again to my ancestors, thanking them for all that they did to allow me to be alive today, to allow me to be in the position that I am in today. And in honoring them, also asking them, like, do I have your permission to claim a new name for our family line? And I kept feeling in all of my reflections of that a true yes, you have our permission. You are supported in this. And I'll go into a little bit more of that journey because there has been a lot of really deep purging that need to happen in order to step away from claiming my legal name as fully, because obviously there's a lot of ancestral baggage that I was carrying, that so many of us carry through our ancestral names. And there's so much wisdom in them, and I'm certainly not encouraging folks to all change their ancestral names, because so many of us carry real power, all of us do, from our ancestors in our original names, which is why I'm not entirely giving it up. And yet there's more. There's so much more. And my legal name in particular has a lot of ties, I feel, to patriarchal patterns and histories. And as someone who, and also like forms of violence in various ways as well. And as someone who stands for feminine wisdom, the resurgence, the revitalization of feminine wisdom, and the unity, the peace, the harmony that comes with bringing that balance back, I knew I needed to carry a different energy. And so Avelina came to me after many, many months of deep prayer, where again I'd go through this process of emptying myself over and over again, releasing all of the titles and names that I thought I was, or the things I thought I should be and do, and just really opening a clear channel and emptiness to receive who is she? Who is me? And just like completely emptying. And of course, as I started to lean into like playing with what a different name would look like, of course it's like trying on clothes. Does this fit? How does this feel? Is this right? Do I like this color? And so I definitely had like a list, a note in my phone of like different names, different words that could feel like it was like in this investigation process. I see like right now like an archaeological, I might have said that wrong, but like digging to try to find the core truth through little breadcrumbs, hints, clues in the ruined temples of my own soul's history. So I mean, even I'll just throw this into, I even played with like ChatGPT and was like, can you give me names that are like ethereal but like graceful or whatever? And you know, ChatGPT, he did his best. But none of that I didn't think I would get a name from AI for sure. And I didn't expect to, and I wouldn't have likely, you know, officially claimed one, but it definitely helped as a resource to at least get some of my wheels turning on where my yeses and nos are. But in truth, Avelina came to me when I was completely empty, when I was in moments of no mind. I would be driving and, you know, not thinking about much, and I would hear like a whisper in my ear, Avelina. And I'd be like, what was that? What's that about? And in moments of meditation, I would just hear Avelina, but nothing else with it. And I would just be like, is this like a future child's name? But I didn't really look into it too much. I just let it land in my system, and I just allowed myself to hear it. And so it would regularly pop up for a number of months. And I didn't tell anyone about this. This was all a very internal journey. I shared with a few of my very close friends that I was becoming ready to change my name, but the whole process of it was incredibly private. And it wasn't until a weekend retreat in the fall that just brought so much clarity to me beyond anything. Where in the span of a devotional weekend where I completely, to a whole new caliber, released who I am. Like this whole process, this whole year up until that point, all of the work, all of the priming that I had done for this, once I finally got into the physical state, an opportunity to just be with my soul and nature and nothing else, and God, Creator, Spirit, that's when it was like, phew, the torch lit with such a bright flame that could no longer be denied. And it was through this weekend where I received so many visions of why Avelina came to me. And I truly feel like Avelina chose me. I didn't choose it necessarily, but in a way my soul already has been her, right? So a choiceless choice in some ways. And one of the big landing moments for me during that time was I was in a trance meditation space. And many of y'all know I'm a very clairvoyant person, and so I get visions a lot when I go into meditation. And I was taken to the temple of Avelina, which is essentially the castle of my soul. And I got to explore this temple and see myself there and all of the immaculate details, and I never felt more of a yes, this is me. Yes, I am home. This is where my compass is. This is the hearth of my heart. And even anytime that I invoke that feeling, that inner temple of Avelina, it brings such emotion to my being, because there's nothing clearer, resounding than the truth of that for me, of what that space, that safety, that sanctuary, that resonance truly feels like. And so I came out of that weekend just like, this is me. This is the name. I am Claire Avelina. And afterwards, once I got home back to internet service, I was like, okay, what does this mean? What is this word? And so I did some research, and I learned that Avelina actually means bird in Latin. And anyone who knows me knows how deeply I resonate with our bird family. The bald eagle is my closest animal totem. I have a swallow tattooed on me. So many people have said that I remind them of a bird. I probably was a bird in a past life. So to receive that definition, I was like, oh my gosh, this could not be more true. Like any other animal, like it could have meant, any of my other animal allies, like tiger, anything like that, and it wouldn't have felt like a complete glove fitting the way that bird does. And Avelina is also a word that's associated with hazelnuts in French and Celtic traditions. Now, my first name, Claire, is French, and I am of Celtic ancestry. So I was like, okay, hazelnut, interesting. Also, just throwing this out there as well, and bonus detail, one of my very, very best friends in the whole world, who passed away suddenly in 2017. She is one of my dearest spirit guides. I have a tattoo that honors her as well. Her nickname was Hazelnut, so that was just extra sweet as well. And when I looked up the symbolism of hazelnuts, I found research that pointed to that their symbolism is associated with the Holy Trinity and the union mysteries, which is a huge part of my spiritual path. And that's, of course, stick a pin in that for more magical immersions with me another time, but I'll just plant that seed of the Holy Trinity is a huge paramount pillar, North Star for me in my life. And so to have a name that traces back to that line was just, again, this like fitting like a glove of like, wow, this is it. This makes so much sense. And so, of course, in this process of claiming a new name, it's not like, there's so much of any area of personal growth and development where it's not just so easy to just like, okay, change my name, this is me now. Or same with, I say this all the time, of like, Okay, I'm healed, done, checked off. We are humans living a human experience, and integration is half, if not majority, of the whole work. And it takes time and practice to integrate into embodiment. And so, especially for the first 3 months, there was a lot of like oscillation in me of like, wow, okay, this is a big life shift. How do I hold this? And of course, like, the layers of shedding still needed to happen. Now that I had a direction of where I was going, the embodiment that I was ready to embrace and step into, there's still many layers of the past to process, to give presence to fully. And so I spent a lot of time purging the baggage of my ancestral line and my family, where I would spend hours and hours, days and nights in personal ceremony, just purging and releasing the patriarchal, the supremacist, the colonial, all of the like intensities that have carried with my ancestral line that I don't agree with, that I don't want to continue carrying forth, that are not aligned with my values and virtues, and that I believe their era is complete. And I don't want to carry forth those patterns anymore, even just through the lineage of my name. And of course, like, you know, this is just one aspect of decolonization work, right? Like, there is so much very real, tangible stuff, like actions in the 3D world in our communities that are required, and y'all know that I'm devoted to that just as much. And the internal work is also very, very important, of where do these aspects inside of us live, right? So it was tough. It was really tough. At moments, it was, gosh, just some of the hardest, probably, you know, up there. It was definitely up there with some of the hardest clearings I've ever done in my life. And many, many different layers, where not only was I purging for myself, but I was purging for my current family members as well. And again, through this lens of, with permission and with support from the ancestral spirits that were guiding me along the way, that were cheering me on, and yes, it's time. It's time. This name has served, and you can reap the strengths, honor the strengths that all of this, that this name, that this lineage carries for you, and yet it's time for more. It's time for a refinement and upgrade and a true authentic embodiment of what this evolving now earth is ready for. And so, of course, these past versions of myself are always with me, like I said. I'm not, like, I don't think we can ever, like, erase them, and to try to, like, shove them under the rug is a disservice. And yet they can take the back seat now. And so I also went through this process of laying to rest Crystal Claire and Claire, legal last name, where I reflected on what are the archetypes, what's the personality, who, when I think of this name, this person with this name, who I've been, who is that? What do I see? What do I feel? And I got to get really honest, looking in the mirror of who I have been as each one of those people, to see their shadows, their insecurities, their doubts, their fears, their strengths, their beauty, their gifts, all of it. and to like sift through all of that so intentionally, so mindfully and carefully, to become really clear of what aspects of both of these versions of me am I keeping and am I letting go. So it's been a really big journey of a long time, and truly a rite of passage. And if you know me and my work, you know that rite of passage is a huge passion of mine. I so live for helping others revive their own rite of passage traditions and experiences, because it's been a part of our culture that has been lost for many generations. And I feel like that disassociation from and disconnection from traditional rites of passage, even adapted to a modern context, I feel like that's where so many of us get lost, because we just go through life one day at a time. Days become years. All of a sudden we're adults, and as adults we never had that marking, that initiation of maturation. And so some of y'all have heard me speak, sometimes rant about this, and especially some of my teachings and materials on sovereignty development. But so many of us are just adults operating in our child psyches, by our inner children, because we never really put that inner child in the back seat at a certain point. And that's what rites of passage can do. They can help us close chapters in a loving, good, integrated way and embark on new ones with so much grace and clarity and empowerment. And so it's truly been a very long rite of passage for me that has been a transition from maiden to matriarch. And so as I reflect on what does Avelina mean to me, what is this lineage that I am initiating for myself and my family line, you know, I would see these visions of like the old-timey family crests, of that pride that families would have in their unit, in their line, in their ancestry. And a family would be symbolized by a beautiful family crest, like a shield that would protect them, that would guide them. And I was like, wow, I miss that. Obviously, like, some families took it too far and tried to, impose themselves and their beliefs, philosophies, ways on the rest of the world, and many of them, 1%ers, succeeded in that, right? But I feel like the more that each one of us get to bring back the honor to our family lines in a way that feels truly resonant and authentic to each of us, I feel like there is immense healing there for all of us, because it restores the Holy Family, the Holy Trinity, and helps us embark and bridge union, true union of self with loved ones and the world around us. So for Avelina, this bird, elven energy that name carries, for me, when I feel into that name, there is so much grace. There is so much connection to the earth, recognition of earth kinship, that the earth is our family, the birds are our family, the fire, the elements. And there is a graceful compassion in that remembrance, and a very deep feminine approach to life, which again is what I stand for in this world. The embodiment of true tenderness and grace, compassion, love, union of self and other. And so this whole journey has really guided me through deeper understanding of the importance of truly making space to claim our truth. And a guiding mantra that has supported me through this time has been from the well-known Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh. And he has this poem that says, "Please call me by my true name, so I may feel my pain and joy as one. Please call me as my true name, so that I may wake up." And one of my dear friends, Andy Fisher-Price, turned this mantra into a song, or I think some other beautiful women that I don't know the name of first made it into a song, and Andy has since recorded a version of it that's been a really beautiful way to just really sink in of, please call me by my true name, so that I may understand that both my pain and my joy are one. In the sense of that whole approach to self, where every part of us, the past versions of who we are, all that we've been through, all of our pain, our journeys, our challenges, are just as much medicine as our joy, and just as much make up who we truly are. Please call me by my true name, so that I may wake up, so the doors of my heart may open. And it's when we get to claim these truths of ourselves and invite others to see us as that, to invite others to call me by my true name. It's this process of helping us remember and walk the embodiment of who we know ourselves to be. And what a beauty to be seen and witnessed as that truth. So it's truly been a incredible journey so far of finding the real light within. The flame in my heart, the real flame of who I am. Not who I've thought myself to be or wanted myself to be or who other people wanted me to be, but who I authentically am. Fully refined, always refining, but more true than ever before. And it's our authenticity, it's our authentic voice, it's our authentic North Star, our inner compass, our inner flame, the fire, the hearth of our hearts, the temples of our souls. It's these parts of us that I fully believe are like our greatest allies. And so I thank you so much for witnessing me in this path, this embodiment, as I continue to evolve and come to embody all the parts of who Claire Avelina is. And I thank you for seeing this light in me as I choose to see the light in you. And so I am so deeply, deeply committed as I continue to embark on this ever deepening path for the rest of my life. It feels so important to continuing to deepen my work in sovereignty development, sovereignty way showing, and helping others to see their own light for themselves, to come to a similar homecoming of who they actually are. And so I've been taking these lessons, these initiations, this journey, this medicine journey that Creator Spirit has given me over this last year, and refining it in a way where other people can experience their own similarly. And so I have been crafting a journey experience where people can learn from my lessons, my path, in order to come home to their greatest soul resonance, their most authentic blueprint and truth of their soul and spirit, returning to the flame in their hearts, completely clear and refined. And this journey is called Luminous and is symbolized by the lantern. The lantern that guides us through the darkness, the distortions, projections, illusions, conditionings that have led us astray. The lantern that carries the flame, no matter how big or small, of our truth of who we really are, so that we may come home to she, he, they, whoever they may be, whoever they've always been. And it's called Luminous to help awaken and brighten that inner light beyond any measure that can never again go out. So that each of us always have this lantern, this North Star, this guiding compass inside of us that can never again be taken. And of course, as humans, we will ebb and flow. I will have moments where I feel more like Crystal Claire or any other version of myself, because that's the beauty of being a diverse human on this life. And yet, I will always have my North Star, my Temple of Avelina, that no one can ever take away from me, and that I will always be able to be resourced from infinitely beyond measure, in filling my cup again with who I truly am. And so if you choose to embark on the luminous journey with me, perhaps you could come out with a new name too. It's certainly not an objective, but what I can certainly promise is you'll come out a much more clarified, aligned version of your authentic truth, possibly beyond anything your mind could have even imagined, because it's wisdom that only your soul knows. And so know that I'm here to help you access that. Luminous is being crafted with so much tender, loving care and devotion, and I truly trust in its perfect unfoldment. And so at this time, I can't necessarily give a timeline of when it will be born, because I just pour my whole craft and integrity and heart into this work. But I could perhaps tentatively imagine that April 2024 might be its first birth. So please stay in touch if that feels like a journey that would be supportive for you, as it has been for me, because I'm living it and I'm right here with you. And beyond that, I have also officially opened up applications for mentorship. And as many of y'all know, I have been working as a peer counselor and empowerment mentor in many different capacities. I first started training in this way about 2012, I think, was the very first year that I started really training in offering this kind of support for people. So it's been a very long time. And I have embarked on getting licensure as a CPCC, which is essentially a coach or a mentor of the highest integrity and verification that is available in the industry at this time. So it's pretty much a big deal. And at this time, I am offering a pretty heavy, over 50% discount on mentorship programs while I get my CPC licensure. And so I will likely graduate in 2025. So if you feel like you want to deepen in more one-on-one work with me, I offer everything on the table now. Not only do I offer exclusive resources that can't get anywhere else to just my one-on-one clients, friends, peers, partners in life. I like to come up with a better name than client because it's so much more than that. It's like soul kin, right? To like embark on this path together. But I also offer personalized ceremonies as well, your own rites of passage experience if you want something curated, an actual initiation, rite of passage ceremony for yourself. That's included in the mentorship, as well as weekly calls, regular chat support, majority of days of the week, and gosh, so much more. Oh, healing art sessions are included as well. It's everything that I do on the table for a ridiculously, temporarily accessible point, because I am just so excited, honored to walk alongside each one of you that feel inspired to walk this way with me. So know that that's available anytime at claireavelina.com. And thank you so, so much for all that you are, for walking this way with me, for witnessing me, for honoring yourself on this path, however yours is meant to unfold. And I just thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart for being here and for being all that you are and all that you will be and all that you have always been. Blessed be. More to come. Thank you.